Welcome to a new series of guides that I'm making. I know several of you enjoyed the Kaiser solo progression series because you were able to learn a thing or two about progression from referencing my own Kaiser. So, that Kaiser, while it was a solo progression, it wasn't what a fresh account or a new player would experience, and so I've decided to make a series of lecture style guides, and hopefully by the time I finished all the parts, any new player can just watch one of them and learn about the mechanics of a certain topic of the game. So for part 1, I will be focusing on how to make Meso in Reboot, because Reboot is over 90% about farming Meso. So the first part is should you main Kanna? The answer is pretty much yes. Any new player, if they like Kanna, they should main it, simply because it is overall the best class around, and it can use Kishin Shokan, which is a skill that increases mob generation, and Kannas are the only ones that can use the skill, and they can use it pretty much without limit, which means they can farm whenever and forever, however long they want. Not only that, they also get the best Meso rates of any class, pretty much. So, for a new player, I definitely recommend maining Kanna if you like the playstyle. However, I understand that not everybody wants to main a Kanna. The second option is to make a Kanna farmer. Now currently, pretty much the only way to efficiently farm on a Kanna is at Lachlan or Arcana. I wrote here 10 to 20 bill because that is about the investment of Mesos that you need to put in to a Kanna to be able to farm with it. At Lachlan and or Kanna. I'll elaborate more in the later section. But again, with a Kanna farmer, you can use Kishin whenever you want. However, the downside is you don't get any EXP for your main. If this Kanna isn't your main. However, you still can farm as much Meso, nodestones, and droplets as you want with a Lachlan or Arcana farmer. Now the third option is to make a second account Kanna. This won't apply to 99% of players, because this is for pretty much hardcore players, and if you're hardcore, I don't think you would be watching this guide. But basically, as a summary, you can make a second account on a second PC, so you require a second computer basically. Level it up to whatever level you want, and you can basically Kishin your main so that you can farm as much as you want on your main. Now the caveat is that you have to level up this second account Kanna to the level requirement of whatever region you want to farm on your main. So if you want to farm in Lachlan on your main as much as you want, you have to level up your second account Kanna to 220, and you have to, if you want to farm in Arcana, you have to level up your second account Kanna to 225. If you want to level up your main all the way to 275, you have to farm pretty much in these regions, so you have to level up your second account Kanna to 250 or 255. Obviously, most players, especially new players, will never do that, so yeah, I'll just skip past that real quick. Now the fourth option, and pretty much it's going to be the most common option for new players, is just going with no Kanna at all. Now honestly, this isn't too bad of an option, because if you decide not to play a Kanna or have a Kanna farmer, you can utilize wild totems. They cost 1800 RP from the cash shop, and you can buy 15 a month. On top of that, you can get 2 from Fairy Bros, which is the daily gift right here. You can get one on day 10 and day 19. And so in total, you can get 17 a month, which is equivalent to 34 hours of farming. But again, you can only farm 2 hours at a time, because each totem, once you use it, it lasts for 2 hours and then it'll expire, which basically forces you to farm in 2-hour blocks. Otherwise, you will be wasting totems. So for players who are fine with farming 2 hours basically every day or every other day, totems are not a bad idea. But if you're someone who wants to farm in like 30 minutes or 1 hour chunks, but multiple chunks across the day, then totems are pretty inefficient, and you might want to look into making a Kanna farmer. Now, while totems cost 1800 RP, and you can buy 15 a month, basically, which means you need to get about 25,000, 26,000 RP a month to buy out all the totems. Oh, whoops. So here's how you make RP, or reward points. There's 4 main ways. The main way is that any player can do pretty easily is just clear bosses. Pretty much any boss in the game, after you clear it, you can click over here and there'll be a complete quest that you can turn in, and it will give you like 30 to 50 RP depending on how hard the boss is. And you can do this for any daily boss, any weekly boss, and the only downside is you can't complete the same. You can do this on multiple characters, but you can't complete the same quest for the same boss every single day. What you can do is, if you have multiple characters that can clear weekly bosses, you can clear those on different days, and you can turn those in for extra RP. But this alone probably won't get you to the necessary amount of RP. The second option is monster exploration. Now, what monster exploration is every time you kill a mob, there's a small chance that you add it to your collection. So if you go to your monster collection button and you press it, you can go to your collection tab and you can see which monsters you have collected. Now, as you can see here, every single monster in the game is in a certain set, denoted by the line. Once you complete a set, you can send off that set in the exploration tab to explore for a set amount of time. There's 24-hour ones, there's 3-hour ones, there's 1-hour ones, there's 6-hour ones. The more rare the set is, like the CRA set right here, the longer the time is. So this is a 24-hour set. So basically every 24 hours, you can send off the mobs, the set, and you can come back 24 hours, in 24 hours, and you can claim the reward. And the reward for a 24-hour set one is about 120 to about 150 RP. And you can see I can send out 4 of them. I think for new players, you can start with 2 slots. You have 2 slots, so you can send out 2 sets. However, once you collect a certain amount of mobs, as you can see here, if I collect 600, I unlock the 5th slot, but I've only collected 391. But once you've collected a certain amount, you can unlock the 3rd slot, and then the 4th slot, and the 5th slot. Now, if you want to just go out and collect mobs, what you can do is you can get the Explorer Bowman link. As you can see here, chance to add monsters to monster collection plus 15%, and this can stack up to 3 times for each different Explorer Bowman. So Pathfinder, Bowmaster, Marksman, you can get up to 3, and that'll increase your chances of getting monster collection a lot. So if you just want to go out and collect a bunch of monsters to expand your slots and complete some sets, once you've completed the sets, you can send those monsters off to explore, and basically you'll passively get reward points, and you just have to log in once every few hours to collect your rewards. And these are pretty good because not only will you get reward points, you can get stamps, flames, potential scrolls sometimes, and you'll get a bunch of these the higher level of trait items. And traits are important. I'll elaborate on those in a different episode. But yeah, so monster exploration is very good. The third way is Maple M. Maple M is the mobile game. So if you download Maple M on your phone, you connect your PC account to your mobile account, you can do dailies on Maple M. They're pretty much automated for the most part, but they take about 10 minutes to do. And you can get 500 RP per day up to. But honestly, this is pretty much a hassle, and if you're pretty good on monster exploration and doing bosses, you pretty much don't have to do Maple M. But if you're in need of some quick reward points, you can always do this. And the fourth way to get RP is doing Relay. Now Relay is an event that isn't always around. Currently there is a Relay event going on, and so you can get like about 1500 RP per day just for logging in and AFKing for 3 hours. So those are the main sources of getting RP. And that finishes this section of the guide. Now, on to setting up a farmer. Now, you can either do this on your Kanna farmer, or you can do this on your main if you decide to farm a lot on your main. I would recommend doing this on any main character that you're going to get to like 250 or higher. So I'm going to go over the sources of Meso percent. The main way of getting Meso percent is legendary potential on your accessories. And what I mean by accessories, I mean your 4 rings, your 2 pendants, your face accessory, your eye accessory, and your earring. Your belt does not count. Well, basically, once you get these accessories to legendary, you have a chance of rolling for Meso obtain 20%, as you can see here, or item obtain 20%. If you look at this ring, it has both, but this is very rare. In most cases, you'll get 1 line of Meso obtain 20%. And this stacks up to 100% only, even though there are 9 different slots, and you can get multiple lines of Meso or item drop, or both on 1 item. For Meso obtain, at least, the cap is 100%. The reason why I wrote 20% is about 1 billion Meso is because that's about the average cost that it takes to tier up an accessory to legendary and roll for 1 line of 20% Meso obtain. That's about a billion Meso, give or take a few hundred million Meso. So in total, to set up 5 lines of 20%, which gets you to the cap of 100%, it's about 5 billion Meso. Now, there is a DMT this weekend. During DMT, the cost of making these accessories goes down drastically. I would say it's about 350 million Mesos, going from a clean accessory to 20%. And so definitely I would prioritize making your Meso gear now if you are gearing up your main or a Kanna farmer. I would prioritize this even more than pretty much anything else other than maybe tearing up your weapon, secondary, and emblem. After that, I would focus on your Meso gear. If you can, roll for Meso and 1 line of your stat, but that's only if you have the Meso. I should also mention, this is something that not everybody knows, but you need a certain amount of drop rate to ensure that every single monster drops a Meso bag. And the amount of drop rate that you need is about 60 to 70% drop rate to ensure 100% Meso bag. So obviously, Decent Holy Symbol gives you about 20% drop rate. So you're gonna need about 2 lines of drop rate percent as well, or item obtain, I guess. So 2 items will give you 40%. Decent Holy Symbol will give you another 20%. So that will get you to about the maximum drop rate to ensure 100% of the time a Meso bag drops. However, this isn't as important as the Meso line itself. So yeah, the second way of getting Meso obtained is your inner ability. As you can see here, I have 5% Meso obtained on my inner ability. Ideally, it would be 20%, but I just haven't gotten it yet. You should re-roll with honor your inner ability until it's unique and use miracle circulators to get to legendary. And ideally, you would use miracle circulators to re-roll for 20% Meso, because if you use circulators, you're guaranteed to get the 20% Meso line. The cost of getting this line is anywhere from 1 bill to 3 bill, give or take, because the variance is so huge. But in the long run, if you're going to be farming a lot, this is worth it usually. I know most new players, they look up the ideal inner ability for their class, and ideal means for bossing, but honestly, if you're going to be leveling up a lot, the 20% Meso line is better. Once you're done leveling, you can always switch to your damage inner ability later on. Along with this, you can also, if you have honor, leftover honor, you can also roll for drop rate as well, which would help with node stones and droplets as well. Now, moving on to Legion wealth coupons. Obviously, new players won't have Legion. At first, ideally you would set up a Legion as fast as possible. Once you start getting Legion coins, you can go over to the Legion coin shop. You can go over here and you can buy 10-minute, 20-minute, and 30-minute Legion wealth coupons. I would buy the 30-minute ones only unless you're making a lot of Legion coins. You get Legion coins depending on your Legion power, and you can also do dailies for 30 coins a day. Yeah, but ideally, usually you would get the 30-minute ones for 50%. These coupons last 30 minutes and you can buy 10 per week per character, so 5 hours per character. So what I do usually is I farm on my Dell and my Kanna farmer. I farm at least 5 hours on each character per week just so I can utilize the Meso coupons. But for new players, you probably won't have the coins for that. But an extra 50% Meso I find at Lachlan and Kanna, I find that to be an extra 100 million Mesos per hour, which is pretty significant. The last way to increase your Meso gain is wealth acquisition potions. Now this is something that you can pretty much start working towards when you make a new character. What you want to do is you want to get your alchemy. You just need one character to get to level 10 alchemy. Go to secret pills, scroll down, and get a wealth acquisition potion recipe. Now this recipe drops from pretty much any normal rutabyss, Zakum, Arcarium. Once you use the recipe, you can craft these potions for 24 hours. So I'd recommend first gathering up a bunch of resources first. Use the recipe, craft a whole bunch, and then do that again at a later date. The recipe for the wealth acquisition potion, the ingredient is the juniper berry seed oil, not the flower oil, not this one, the seed oil. I don't have any on me, but you can get those from harvesting gold flowers that you see, or the big floating flowers. So definitely, if you see those, you should harvest them. I'll go more into depth into professions and wealth acquisition potions and the other stuff in a later episode. But as you can see, they gave an extra 20% item drop rate and a Meso drop rate, and they last for 2 hours. So these actually line up very well with wild totems. So if you can pop a wild totem, pop a wealth acquisition potion. Do keep in mind though that wealth acquisition potions and the Legion wealth coupons, they disappear if you log out or crash. So keep that in mind. But 20%, this is multiplicative, I think. So I find out that with everything else, if I use a wealth acquisition potion on top of that, I get about an extra 150 million Mesos per hour. So as you can see here, I've written out the initial investment and the amount of the rates that you would get at Lachlan and Arcana. So Lachlan, it's about 10 billion mesos, give or take a few billion, depending on how lucky you get and when you're making your gear. You can make anywhere from 300 to 400 million mesos per hour clean. And by what I mean, what we mean when we say clean is neither of these two buffs. We're just relying on these. Obviously, and this is with either Kishin or Totem. You pretty much, when you're farming for Meso, you never want to do it without either of these. So at Lachlan, you can make 300 to 400 million per hour clean. I think you can make more if you're a Kanna, depending on your map and your rotation. And if you have these two buffs on, you can make about this much, give or take. Arcana is a much bigger investment. It's about this much, give or take. However, Arcana in general is just a lot better because the rates are a lot higher. They're about like 30 to 50% higher, and it's a higher level region, so you can pretty much stay here all the way up to like 250, and you can just farm here for the rest of the game if you want on a farmer. These are the rates here, as you can see. They're pretty high, but the investment is also pretty high, so you should definitely think about whether you want to make a farmer at this level. Obviously, if you're going to be farming on your main, eventually you'll reach these regions and you can look forward to making these rates after this investment. Now obviously, not everybody is going to be reaching Lachlan or Arcana anytime soon. And so for those players, there's these other sources of Meso that I'll go over real quick. Ursus, most people know Ursus. It's over 100 million mesos per day. The 2x meso period is from 3 AM to 3 PM Pacific time, West Coast US time. So it depends on what time zone you are. The amount of meso that you get depends on what level your character is. So ideally, you want to run on your highest level character. So on a 275 character, which is my main, I run on my main usually just because it's the fastest. S rank gives me about 38 million mesos, and triple S rank, which is very rare, gives me about 58 million mesos. Now, pretty much if you clear Ursus, you'll get S rank. However, you can do certain things which will increase your odds of getting double S or even triple S rank. Something easy you can do, especially if you have low damage, you can go around picking people up. So if somebody gets knocked down, you can hold down space on them and you can pick them back up. That will increase your points by a lot. And something that increases points by a ton is catching people. Now you won't always have the opportunity to catch people, but basically if Ursus picks somebody up, grabs them in his mouth, sometimes he'll fling them up, and you can go under the person when they're in the air and catch them when they land. And if you catch someone, it gives a huge boost in points. Pretty much what I find is if I catch someone, on top of dealing a lot of damage on my main, I always get double S or triple S rank. But again, sometimes most runs Ursus won't even fling people in the air. So another bonus is last hitting, but that's pretty much RNG on who gets the last hit, but it also gives a small bonus. So in total, it should take you about 5 to 10 minutes to do all 3 runs, and you make over 100 million mesos for 5 to 10 minutes. So if you're looking at, so say you can make 100 million mesos in 5 minutes. Obviously you can't do it for more than 3 runs, but that's 1.2 billion mesos per hour if you're just doing Ursus for an hour over a number of days. So compared to farming, in Arcana, Ursus in terms of meso per minute is a lot higher. So even if you have a farmer setup, you should always do Ursus because it's just really efficient time-wise. The second source is doing Maplestory. I wrote 54 million per day because that's what you get if you do 2 runs, and it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to do 2 runs of the level 200 dungeon. You always want to do the level 200 dungeon if you can, because it gives the most meso. Obviously, you can do more than 2 runs if you pay Maple points, but usually players won't have Maple points unless they spend money on the normal servers, or Maple Relay, like now, is a thing. But if you have Maple points, you can spend them to get extra runs in, but honestly, I wouldn't really recommend it. But that's something you can do if you're low on Meso. You can so basically, once you start a run of Maplestory, you basically accumulate Meso for the next 7 days, and at the end of the week, you can collect the Meso all at once. However, what you can do is you can always, if you're desperate for Meso like immediately, you can take half the Meso. You can take a 50% cut and get the Meso immediately. So basically, if you run two times in 1 day, you can get 27 million Mesos immediately. But obviously, I would recommend you just wait the week and get the lump sum at the very end. Now, the last source is intense power crystals. You pretty much get an intense power crystal from any boss most bosses in the game, and the amount of that you can get for the crystals depends on the difficulty of the boss and the number of people that you ran with. So for example, normal Lotus I think gives about 90 million to 100 million Mesos if you run him solo, but if you run him in a party of 6, you'll get like 20 to 30 million. It's a lot less, only a fraction. So if you want to collect a lot more Meso, then you should run with as little people as possible. Do note that you can only sell 60 of these crystals per week. I think this is per character. I'm not 100% sure because I've never sold more than 60. But that is a way you can make some Meso on the side. Now, if you have a character that can clear the early mid-game bosses pretty efficiently, and by what I mean by that is Zakum, Chaos Zakum, Hard Magnus, Hard Hilla, Chaos Populatus. This is the most difficult of the bosses. CRA, Chaos Pink Bean, Normal Sickness. Yeah, those bosses. If you can clear those bosses, you can make about 400 million Mesos for clearing all of them. Obviously, this strategy isn't for beginner players, but for like mid-game players. If you have a character that can clear those bosses in like, let's say 30 minutes to 40 minutes, you'll get 400 million Mesos for your time. So for people like me who have multiple characters that can run those bosses, basically what I can do is I can log on one character, clear those bosses in 20 to 30 minutes, sell the crystals for 400 million Mesos, and then move on to the next character. So that, honestly, per minute wise, this is the most efficient other than Ursus. But again, you need multiple characters at the level where you can clear those bosses. So this is not for most players. This is for mostly late game players. But yeah, that is gonna be pretty much it for the first part. That should cover pretty much all the aspects of making Meso in the game. If you have any questions, obviously you can leave it down in the comments. I'll try to answer all of them. If you have any specific topic you want me to cover, I'll eventually try to cover every important topic in the game. Also, you can follow me on Twitch. I'll leave my Twitch link in the description. You can follow me on Twitch, or you could subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when I go live, either on Twitch or YouTube. I stream to both platforms, and you can ask me questions on there, or just watch me, apply some of these methods to farm my own Meso. But yeah, that is going to be it for the first part. If you made it all this way, congratulations. You pretty much know how to make Meso in Reboot now. Yeah, so that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next part.